Hi, I'm John Stonestreet, and this week's 2-Minute Warning is personal. As the dad of 3 little girls, I read with great interest a series of articles answering the question, was the sexual revolution good for women? It was in the Wall Street Journal. Mary Eberstadt said no, and she gave tons of reasons why. Ann Patchett said yes, and her only reason was really, well, the pill was good for women, and so therefore the sexual revolution was good for women too, because the two were linked. Well, then she said at the end of her article something really interesting. She said, well, I wish culture and men would stop treating women as sex objects. Well, where does she think that came from? Mark Regnerus, in a Slate article several years ago, explained the economic dynamics of the sexual revolution and how it changed things. You see, one of the things that Christianity brought to the world was a protection of women's sexuality. In so many other cultures around the world, women were merely the sexual victims of men. When men wanted it, they could take it. But women were able to protect sexuality in marriage once that institution became center and monogamy was accompanied with marriage. This was a Judeo-Christian idea. It was a huge idea. It changed everything. And it's the law of supply and demand. When supply is low and demand is high, the price tag is high. Well, women were able to keep the supply low in marriage. And men have a high demand, and so women said, hey, if you want me, you've got to give me a ring, and you've got to get through my dad first. But then the sexual revolution came along, and the lie was we need sexual freedom. And I dealt with that in last week's 2-Minute Warning. Go back and check it out if you didn't watch it. Because that was a misnomer. Sexuality flooded the market. In other words, supply flooded the market. And suddenly the price tag started to drop. And then, huge deal was when pornography flooded the market, because suddenly, and especially with virtual porn, men are getting their demands met without even having another human being in the room. And suddenly the price tag just bottoms out. Sex becomes cheap in the worst way possible. But there's a new economic dynamic, because women have a demand for something too. Monogamy, security, relational security. And men are keeping that rare. We've all seen the stats. The marriage rate is plummeting. And so men now can keep the supply of relational security rare. Women have to pay a high price tag. Men say, hey, if you want this relationship, you've got to let it be open. If you want this relationship, then you know what? I don't want to get married. I just want to live together. And as Glenn Stanton has pointed out in his book, The Ring Makes All the Difference, cohabitation is not the same as marriage. In fact, in terms of social outcomes, they bring opposite outcomes. Listen, again, sexual brokenness is a high price to pay for our culture, and it dehumanizes women and it dehumanizes men. We're going to continue our series next week talking about how do we reinstill purity, especially in this emerging generation. But come to thecolsoncenter.org. We've prepared an entire 4-part curriculum based on this 2-Minute Warning series on sexual brokenness that you can use in your small groups and in your churches. For the 2-Minute Warning, I'm John Stonestreet.